moving on to the second point, while Google's being very upfront and very proactive and saying, here's what happened, here's why it happened, here's what we're doing to remediate the situation, it is because they're afraid, and rightfully so, that government may think twice about trusting vital stuff to the cloud. All right? So I was looking at an op-ed piece that basically says, you know, it's too bad that the National Transportation Safety Board can't investigate Google to find out why Gmail crashed Tuesday. Well, we know. Google come up and told us. A Gmail outage is not on the scale of contaminated food supply incident, the discovery of lead paint on children's toys, or even a plane crash. All events that trigger a federal investigation, detailed reports of fleshed out causes and remedies. But what happens if Google wins contracts to provide applications and mail services for Los Angeles and government entities? Now, we talked about this here not too long ago. Cloud and software service providers increasingly want to manage critical services for government. And in time, outages that are now annoyances may have critical implications to them. Yeah, but you're still, the big thing, of course, I mean, obviously having, you've got to have great, reliable servers, no question about that. But I think that with the tight budgets that's going on, the 99.9 availability, I think offsets. I think the savings that you get from moving from an internal on-premise Exchange environment to a hosted cloud-based system warrants, I think, a little bit of latitude. I'm not saying a lot here, but I'm saying I don't think it's reason for the city of Los Angeles to give up on the idea of migrating from Exchange. Now, I like Exchange. I use Exchange. I had an on-premise Exchange server. Don't use it now. Now I've got it hosted, but I like the capability. Now that I've installed Snow Leopard on my my iMac, and now I no longer have to use Entourage, which is just a hideous program if you've never looked at Entourage. It's working brilliantly with Apple Mail. I don't use the address book feature that much. And iCal seems to be okay. Now, I'm not doing anything really sophisticated with it. I'm not doing calendar delegation and all these other things that some power users would be. But the capability is absolutely there. All right? It is absolutely there. But it's hosted, right? It's hosted. Now, here's the point. Occasionally, throughout the day, I will see messages come up from Outlook telling me that it's trying to connect to the Exchange server. Connection has been lost. And then within a few seconds, communication has been restored, back and forth. So all that is part of your uptime numbers. You know, how much time you can't communicate with the Exchange server and how much time you can. But for the most part, you know, of course availability is critical. Of course it is. But the savings, okay, and I can't really compute my savings the same way somebody like the city of Los Angeles is going to compute it, okay? But I can tell you it's a nice feeling not to have to worry about maintaining the Exchange server and keep going. Big level, I think it's interesting that people have gotten so used to free services that they're starting to expect them to be perfect. That's human nature, really. It's just the way I think we're hardwired. It's just the way we are. Well, you know, my hosted Exchange account is just doing, hey, Dave, how are you? Welcome to FrugalTech-Live. Exactly right. No technology will never be perfect. My Urban Decay, hi, how are you, buddy? Always glad to have you show up in the afternoon. Well, yeah, exactly. Well, you know, it's free and you know, it's human nature, though, to expect just everything to work automatically. And if it doesn't, then we get kind of upset and carry on. The point is that Google is trying very diligently to replace Exchange environments out there in state, federal governments, city governments, etc. This is an arrow that Microsoft can use, however correctly or incorrectly, to say, I would think twice about replacing Exchange for the city because you may risk potential service outages with Google. Okay? And this, by Google being very proactive and taking a stand and saying, this is what we did wrong, this is how we screwed up, this is how we're going to make sure it doesn't happen again. That's all they can really do. And I think that the actual savings, you know, when you pit the savings against a hosted Exchange environment or going to Google Apps versus on-premise Exchange and all this stuff, I don't think it's going to convince the city government not to go with Google.